Charles Adams. Everybody knows me as Chuck. I am the city attorney for the city of Sheboygan. My educational background, I graduated in 1990 from Dordt College in Iowa, and then in 1993 from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a law degree. Well, specifically what drew me to go to law school, it's kind of a funny story. I was an English major in college, but I was one of those guys that I just took whatever class I wanted. I went to a small college, and my professors would often allow me, they would say, oh, this history course, there's a lot of writing, we'll count it as part of an English major. I had a friend who was a year ahead of me. He had been a high school friend, college friend, and we were sitting one day in the snack bar at the college, and he was saying, you know, Chuck, I don't know, you know, what are we going to do? What kind of jobs can we do when we, in essence, we're kind of general studies majors? And he said, the way I figure it, we only have two choices. One is we can go to law school, and the other is we can go to seminary. Well, he went to seminary, and I took the dark side, and I went to law school. So, but what really then interests me about it is I knew I always wanted to get into some kind of public service. And you know, in the law, you're performing a public service. When you're in private practice, it's maybe service for a particular group of the public. I did that for a little while. I really enjoy doing the public service of working for the people of the whole city. That's really what drew me in. So after I graduated from law school, I worked for 3 years in a small private practice in Waupun. I was there partly because my wife was teaching there. That's where I had been commuting to go to school in Madison. And it was a good firm, but I knew that some of the things I was doing in the firm, I really just did not enjoy family law. And for some reason, I started getting just a ton of family law clients, and I didn't want to do that. And the person that I worked with, we would have ended up being partners, and I felt that I really liked the guy. We had a lot in common, almost too much in common. We would have had the same strengths, same weaknesses. Not sure that would have made for a great firm. So actually, at the time, I had a lot of family living in Sheboygan County, and I did their taxes. Was one of the services we did. And as kind of a joke, they sent me a thank you card for doing their taxes, and they sent me an ad for the assistant city attorney position in the city of Sheboygan. And then they said, you need to come to Sheboygan. Well, I applied for the job, and Steve McLean hired me, and here I am, you know, 22 years later almost. The city attorney's office, in statute, it just simply says each city is to have a city attorney, and the city attorney is responsible for all the legal work of the city. And in essence, that's what we do. But what does that mean? Well, we defend the city anytime the city gets dragged into court. We handle claims. We do all the prosecution for city violations. And a lot of what we do is also just advising members of the council, members of the leadership team, the mayor, on, you know, process, on, you know, what might be a legal path to go. We don't give them political advice. That's not our role. But we will tell them that, well, this direction you want to go, it doesn't work because here's the problem. Or, you know, of the directions you want to go, yeah, both of these could work. This is how you would go about doing that. So I see ourselves primarily as an internal service organization, but a very important internal service organization. Ideally, you don't hear much about what we do unless you get a traffic ticket or unless you're really specifically involved in an issue. But we're behind the scenes, hopefully making sure things are running smoothly. In fact, I was just talking to my assistant attorney yesterday about how we lawyers are probably about the only people who kind of like procedure and how do you get from point A to point B. But if you don't have a procedure, if you don't have a path how to get to point A to point B, nothing will ever get done. So we may not be the ones actually doing the work to move things forward, but we're making sure that the path is available to move things forward. And if we weren't there to do that, nothing would move forward. I'm in charge of the department. So in essence, everything that happens in the department is to some level my responsibility, but we do have some things then that I more administer from above or just, you know, pay attention to. Where you'll see me the most is I do a lot of meetings. I go to all the Common Council meetings. I go to many of the committee meetings. And if I'm asked to, I'll go to committee of the whole meetings. If I'm asked to, I'll go to some of the other commission meetings and things like that. And just make sure things run smoothly. We draft ordinances and resolutions. I do almost all of that, although my assistant will be taking on some more of those things as he gets settled. And then I also have to do sort of the administrative part of it as well, the non-legal part of the budgeting and the hiring and those kinds of things as well. It's really a very varied kind of job, which is one thing I like about it. I'm oftentimes have no idea what I'm going to be doing when I get to work that day. It's going to be dependent on who sent me an email, who made a phone call. You can expect, oh, I'm going to spend all day working on this ordinance, and it turns out 14 other things got in the way and you don't get there. Occasionally frustrating, but mostly I really enjoy that variety. Okay, so they're very different positions, report to different people, do different things. The district attorney's office is a creature of the state, although they do get some county funding as well because they do some work for the county. And the district attorney's office is there primarily for prosecution of crimes. There are a few other tasks that they have. The city attorney's office, yes, we do prosecution. My assistant does that work of city ordinances and city code violations. So there's some similarity of that prosecution side that the DA does at the misdemeanor and above level. But we also do for the city what the corporation council does for the county, which is, represent more of the governmental functions, defend the city, those kinds of things. So it is a very different position. So I think a common misconception is that the city attorney's office is sort of like this general lawyer for everyone in the city. And I see this in two ways. We do, on a fairly regular basis, get calls from people in the public who just think that we represent them. So they'll say, well, I'm having a problem with my neighbor. Can you fix it for me? Sorry, I represent the city as an organism. As a whole, we might get involved in your issue if it affects a large group, but I can't individually represent you. We also sometimes see that even with the aldermen and other governmental officials who often, they want our office to do their individual work, like, oh, well, I want this ordinance written, I want this, and we have to tell them, well, I represent the whole entity. Now, if this is the sense in which the council is going, that's my job, and I'm happy to write it. But if you're just one person with a pet issue and you don't have anybody else behind you, sorry, we don't represent you, we represent the city as a whole, and we need to go in that direction. We're there to serve the community. That's really our goal. And we do that by providing services specifically to city government. Got my assistant city attorney, Thomas Cameron, just started in December, but already pretty excited about what he's doing and what he brings to the table. Some really good experience from his years in Indiana. And I've got two great legal assistants too. Kathy Hoffman has been around now for 11 years, and I think she's recognized in City Hall as really someone who kind of takes a lead on things, understands processes, and helps people out on a lot of things. And then Marie Stefanson, who is relatively new with us, but has really very quickly picked up on a lot of the work and is kind of the smiling face that you see when you come into our office, and really bright, has really picked up on a lot of work. So what you should know is we've got a great team, and that team is committed to serving the city of Sheboygan.
Stop that. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Nice keep walking, yeah. Dressed too sharp with the prize. They tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pond. If you wanna touch me, please use caution.